Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a good number of times before. These guys are one of my favourite Swedish breweries. I always enjoy trying the new beers that they're releasing, and the one that we're going to have a look at today is the latest release from one of my favourite series of beers that they do. So for this one then, we will head up towards Gothenburg once again, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast. Got to get that Gothenburg catchphrase in when we're reviewing Gothenburg beers because it is just channel tradition and all of that jazz. But for this one, we are going to return to the wonderful OO Brewing, and this one is the latest installment from their 100 series. So for those of you who don't know, the 100 series is the series of single hopped IPAs that OO Brewing do. They're always 6.5%, they're always New England IPAs, and kind of every month we seem to get one from the 50/50 series, which is the dual-hopped New England IPA series, and maybe every 2 months or so we seem to get a release from the 100 series. But this particular beer is the 100 Mosaic, and yeah, I'm very familiar with this hop, so I'm curious to see how this one turns out actually. I've been a sucker for these kind of big orangey-leaning IPAs for quite a long time, and Mosaic, as we know, is a lovely juicy kind of tangerine type hop actually, so very, very curious to see how this one turns out. And like I said, I always enjoy this series. As you know, if you've watched the channel for any length of time, I'm a huge kind of ingredients nerd. I love learning about different malts and different hops and things like this. So, you know, I always keep an eye out for the different 100 series and 50/50 series beers that OO Brewing are releasing. So fingers crossed this is as good as the other ones we've had. The last 100 series beer I had, I think, was Nelson Sauvin, and I can't remember if that was released in January or February, but that review was released quite recently actually. But yeah, looking forward to this as I said, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer too, and I would highly recommend you try some of these 100 and 50/50 series beers if you get the chance. They're great for kind of ingredients educations, but I will say that OO Brewing have beers that are far more kind of striking, should we say. I love these ones just because it's the ingredient education, like I said. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from OO Brewing before, and we will no doubt add more to that list in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about OO Brewing. So OO Brewing, as I've told you already, are based in Gothenburg, Göteborg, up on the Swedish west coast, and the company was founded back in 2011 by Olaf and Ole Andersson, who are childhood friends, and for many years these guys were also avid home brewers. But the pair have been interested in beers since a very young age actually, and Ole was heavily involved in the Gothenburg beer scene since pre-drinking age, but he was the original head brewer at Stigbergets Brewery, and this is where the original OO Brewing beers were produced. And he is the creator, of course, of the GBG Beer Week Beer 2016, the Amazing Haze, two of the cult classic Swedish IPAs, along with Narangi, which was released around the same time under the OO brand, and that's a great beer actually. If you want to try some properly old school Swedish New England IPAs, then those are the ones I would recommend, along with the New Sweden IPA from Opigårds Brewski microbrewery. If they had a regular beer, I would include something of theirs in this list as well, but they're always doing different stuff. But yeah, Stigbergets and OO are two of the classic IPA producers here in Sweden. But while Ole takes care of the business side, takes care of the brewing side of things, Olaf manages the business side of the brewery. He worked for a period of time at a marketing agency in Copenhagen, from what I understand, and was working by distance. But these days, I believe he is based in Gothenburg and dedicating full time to the are committed full time to OO Brewing actually, which is great. But these guys really just started out making beers that they wanted to drink themselves, and it's gone very well for them. But in April of 2017, Ole took the decision to leave Stig Bjerret's brewery, and he invested his time fully in OO Brewing, and the company invested in their own brewery in Hisingen near the Tingstedt Bridge. It's equipped with a 2,000 litre brewing system, and this means that they can brew up to 500,000 litres of beer per year. In the first year of operations, they produced around 100,000 litres, and they're just planning to expand up to capacity over the next few years. In 2019, they apparently brewed around 300,000 litres, and I couldn't find out whether they actually managed to increase that throughout 2020, but I doubt it, to be honest, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But I'm sure they will reach the full capacity at some stage soon. But as of March 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced just over 70 different kinds of beer, and they're always releasing new things every month actually, mainly the 100 series and the 50/50 series, but you will get other things from them as well actually. Probably the best IPA I've had from these guys in recent times would be the Charismatico, and they always release a few other things as well. They do some really nice Pilsner beers, some of the Baltic Porters have been really good as well. So when these guys try their hand at different styles, they tend to do them very well, but they are mainly an IPA brewery actually. I'd love to see another couple of West Coasters and a black IPA from these guys at some stage as well. I think I've had a black IPA from them before, but that was quite a long time ago. Recently we had a rye IPA as well actually, which I thought was really quite nicely executed. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about OO Brewing for the moment. A very well respected brewery here in Sweden. I'm not sure how widely they're exporting at the moment, but yeah, fingers crossed that can change soon actually. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you. Like I say, if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer itself then. Onto that then. I'll just get rid of these brewery notes. There we go. So yeah, one thing I did notice about this beer when I had a little quick look on Untappd earlier was that it's actually one of the lower rated ones in the 100 series. So I'm curious to see how that kind of translates actually. But I always enjoy these, and Mosaic is a hop that I've always enjoyed. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Mosaic, it comes in between 13 and 14% alpha acid. It's an American hop, and it tends to give you lovely big kind of juicy tangerine notes. But just to give you a little quick look at the artwork of this one before we open it up, it's, you know, this 100 series, all of the different hops are kind of color coded if you like. So green is the color for Mosaic, yellow is Citra, the sort of reddy orange one they have is Amarillo. So every hop has its own different colour in this series, but you can see on the back there, if I got this the right way up, there you can see the OO Brewing sort of data side of the beer, if you like. 6.5% New England IPA, single hopped with Mosaic. And this beer, I think I forgot to mention earlier, this one was released as part of the Lokal Småskaligt assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden for March of 2020. There was a 50/50 series beer this month as well, and it was Citra and Amarillo in that one. I forget, you know, I can never remember which way around the names are in these, but yeah, it is that one. So yeah, you'll see me review that in a few videos time, but I wanted to start off with the Mosaic actually. I was fancying an orangey leaning IPA. But yeah, 6.5% ABV. This one I think I paid about 45 Swedish kronor for, so £4 sterling, €4.50 roughly, and then maybe about $5 American. So yeah, gives you an idea of how much these beers are. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Very curious to see what this beer has in store for us. So yeah, there we go. There we go. Right. So there we are. But yeah, let's have a little look at this one then. So yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from a New England IPA, it's poured a lovely kind of hazy sort of golden colour, this one. This isn't the haziest I've seen from the 50/50 series or the 100 series, right enough. This one actually looks as if it's a little bit less hazy, come to think of it. But yeah, a nice kind of rich yellow colour, this one. It kind of leans towards the, it actually looks a little bit more like a West Coaster in honesty, which is interesting. You know, it's definitely not the most kind of hazy one that I've seen, but you can see that it's poured with a nice finger of a frothy, I would say slightly cream coloured head. That's not a perfect white head, but yeah, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, and this beer just has a nice level of haze to it, just a little touch actually. So I like how this goes together. But yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. And I mean, overall, it looks very nice. But yeah, nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance for a New England IPA. The yellow colour on this one is quite nice. It looks a little bit like a kind of mixed tropical fruit juice. But as I say, this is most definitely not the haziest of New England IPAs that I've seen from OO Brewing. I mean, remember, the colour of your beer is dependent on 1, the type of malts that you use, and 2, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar's caramelised, thus you get a darker colour. Barrel aging and adjuncts are also going to have effect on the beer, and the level of haziness is down to the oats and the wheat, the amount of oats and wheat in the beer. You know, theoretically speaking, the more oats and wheat you have in the beer, the hazier it'll get. The yeast will also play a role in there as well, but yeah, it's kind of it's quite an interesting one, this. So yeah, it goes together really nicely actually. It looks the part of a New England IPA, but not quite as hazy as some of them. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this beer. Very, very curious to see what it has in store for us. So yeah, yeah, I tell you something, it smells very, very nice. In some ways it smells very typical of what you can expect of an OO Brewing beer, and in some ways it smells a little bit different. So first things that strike me about it, it's got a lovely big kind of oily orangey thing. As you'll know if you've watched the channel, I'm a sucker for these orangey leaning IPAs, and at the same time it's got that kind of soft trademark malty base that you expect of OO Brewing. I think I'm going to enjoy this one, I will say that. But yeah, so straight away with this beer, you can smell that nice, just soft, yeasty kind of thing. As I've always said in these New England IPA reviews, there's about 6 directions you can take a New England IPA. It can be yeasty and sort of farmhousey, it can be kind of rye and sort of grainy, it can be wheaty and bitey, it can be oaty and creamy, or it can be more barley malt leaning and bready, and then you've also got some of them these days that can be a bit more kind of brown sugary orientated. This one has a wee bit of yeastiness, it seems to have a bit of a kind of oaty smoothness to it, and it's also got a nice thick kind of barley malt bready sort of thing. That's what strikes me out of the aroma of this beer. So yeah, you can smell a nice kind of smooth white bready character in there. You can smell a little bit of a kind of bread crusty quality, like I said, and you can also smell, there is, if you take the aroma in a bit more deeply, there is a little bit of a kind of wheaty kind of thing. So, you know, yeah, if you take the aroma in a bit more deeply, you will get a bit of a wheaty note out of this, and actually the more that I smell of it, the more wheaty the aroma kind of becomes, so the aroma will evolve a little bit as your nose adjusts to it. But yeah, soft white bready base, you can smell a bit of the yeasty kind of elements thickening up the beer. There's a bit of a wheaty element to it as well, and it's also got a little bit of it also has a wee bit of a, say, it also has a wee bit of a, you know, there's a wee touchy kind of sweetness to this one, but you can smell a bit of the oaty kind of smoothness in this beer as well. You can definitely pick up a little bit of that. You can just smell a wee bit of that in there. You also get a wee bit of that kind of typical, you know, Werther's Original butter candy type thing, and that's the alcohol coming out of the beer, of course. So yeah, it is. It does have quite a bit of that going on in it, this beer, for sure. Yeah, the aroma of that beer on the malty side of things, I think, goes together really nicely. I know that they play about with the malt bases a little bit to kind of suit the hops and things, and that's always a good thing, because you know you want to try and accentuate certain features of the different hops. But that's why I enjoy the 100 and the 50/50 series, because you can see how different hops kind of mix together and things like that. You can see how the individual hops are on their own and things like that. One that I really do hope that we'll get from OO Brewing at some stage soon would be a 100 Enigma. I would love to have a single hop Enigma beer from these guys and see. It'd be cool if they did a couple of the, you know, it'd be cool if they could do, like, you know, the Styrian Wolf as well. I think that would be an interesting one, but I'm not sure how easy it would be for them to get that hop in the volume that they would need to do it. But yeah, to do a couple of the more random hops I think would be quite interesting, because the 100 series so far, they've sort of done the well-known hops, if that makes sense. So I'd love to see a few more. I'd love to see a few more of the kind of more random hops getting featured in this IPA series. But yeah, the aroma on the malty side of things here is lovely. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, you're getting a little touch of earthiness, I think, out of this. That's another feature of Mosaic that I've always found. It does have a little touch of earthiness to it. There's a nice bright floral aromatic note out of it. It's a little touch spicy, I would say, so I really like how that goes together. But you've also got, you've also got a very nice kind of bright grassy element to the beer as well, which is great. So I really like how all of that goes together. So yeah, the green component for me, it suits everything quite nicely. It offers you a bit of contrast to the malty side of the beer as well. And then of course you've got these nice juicy big orangey kind of qualities too. So yeah, I think this should be quite an interesting one. So on the aroma, it's really, really nice. I mean, the green side of the beer, the grassiness has a wee bit of zestiness to it, and then you're getting these lovely big tangerine notes out of it. It does have a wee bit of a more kind of oily orangey note to it, but it's kind of the brightness of the tangerine notes that tells you, this is Mosaic. That for me, that's the distinction between the likes of Amarillo. There was a 100 Amarillo recently. Amarillo's got that very big oily orangey side kind of thing, but the Mosaic has the more kind of juicy tangerine side to it. So yeah, just bear that in mind when you think about Mosaic and Amarillo. Amarillo's more oily, whereas Mosaic is a little bit kind of brighter, if that makes sense. But yeah, the aroma of this beer is lovely. If you know the hop, it is kind of what you'd expect, to be honest. So yeah, take a little bit of time and ponder over that aroma, but we're going to taste this beer now and see how we get on. So yeah, this one is the 100 Mosaic IPA, or just 100 Mosaic, I think it would be called, from OO Brewing. 6.5% New England IPA, as the 100 series always is, from OO Brewing in Gothenburg. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers. Looking forward to this. Yeah, that is a nice one. Thumbs up to OO Brewing for this. I think it works out very well. Yeah, it's I know this series quite well. It is just kind of what you'd expect from them for this. It's another just solid IPA. Is it the most striking one they're going to do? No, I mean, that's reserved for the likes of Charismatico and things, but is it, solid, and is it good? Yeah, that's what this one is. Absolutely. Yeah, strikes me as being a little bit more kind of bitter, and the malt base strikes me as being a little bit more oaty. This one as well. I'm getting, the further with the aftertaste with this, you start to get a wee bit of a more kind of powdery oaty sort of thing out of the beer, which is kind of interesting. I'm noticing as well it's a wee bit more hazy since I poured that last little bit in. But yeah, you can feel a little bit of the kind of yeast and the oats and the wheat kind of thickening up a little bit in this one. But these beers do get to Systembolaget quite fresh, definitely. But yeah, I do appreciate how this one goes together. Absolutely, it's as I say, it's a nicely executed beer, this one. So again, thumbs up to OO Brewing for this. Yeah, I mean, where to start with this one? It's another really, as I say, very solid New England IPA. So let's just try and break down the flavour of this one and see. It does strike me as being just a little bit more oaty and kind of having that powdery oaty quality to it compared to the compared to the other ones that I've had from OO Brewing in this series before. But anyway, so yeah. Straight away with this beer then, across the middle of your palate you can feel a nice kind of soft, pale malty, white bready kind of thing. That just blankets the middle of your tongue there. So I like how that goes together. That's the backbone of the beer. You can feel on top of that some of the oaty smoothness there, that you get that sort of powdery smoothness from the oats. I don't think the oats contribute overly much to the flavour in IPAs. They give you a little bit more of a kind of yogurty kind of thing in Berliner Weisses and stuff like that. But oats for me are a little bit more about giving you the smoothness, and sometimes they can give you a wee bit, a sort of creaminess in the mouthfeel. But in this beer, it feels that they're being a little bit more kind of dry. You've got a nice yeasty quality coming out of this one as well, actually. So yeah. yeah, it's yeah, it's really nice. It's the malty side of this one, as I say. I find this one, it's got a wee bit more thickness to it almost. It does feel a little bit thicker, and it feels just a little touch more yeasty and dry and kind of things like that. So I get how that I do get how that side of it kind of goes together as well. I think the yeast is playing a role in this one. So on the front half of that middle third of your tongue, you get a wee bit more. That's when the oaty thickness, I think, really comes out. But on the back half of that middle third of your tongue, I think that's when you start to get a wee bit more yeastiness out of the beer. In the very centre of your palate, there's almost like a little circle, and you'll get a wee bit of a you do get a little bit of a kind of butter, you know, you get a little bit of that kind of butter candy kind of thing, a little bit of the Werther's original note there, but that's quite mild. It's not, this is not the sweetest of New England IPAs for sure. It's definitely not the sweetest one that I've come across. So yeah, I can really appreciate how all of that goes together in this one. So yeah, the malty, yeah, there's just something about this beer that's telling me the malty side of things is a wee bit kind of thicker, if you like. So that's kind of interesting. That is quite interesting how that one goes together. And you get more, the further you go into the aftertaste with this, you do get more of that slightly dry, powdery, oaty kind of thing in my mind. So yeah, I like how that goes together for sure. But yeah, on the back third of your palate then, you do get, the yeastiness I think is playing quite a big role in this beer as well, but on the back third of your palate, you can feel a little bit of the wheaty bitiness, and I think the wheat is kind of thickening out this beer quite a wee bit actually. So yeah, I think this one, it feels, you know, sometimes with New England IPAs, when they start to kind of age a little bit, you can feel the oatiness and the wheatiness kind of thickening up a little bit. It feels like this beer might have just aged a little bit. It feels like it might just be a little touch older. I don't know if it's got a canning date on it or whatever, but the 2nd of 8, 2021. Maybe this has been canned on the 2nd of February, then 6 months would seem a logical thing. So if we're getting this beer, we're getting it a month later, you know, I think it really needs to be out on the shelf within about 2 weeks or something like that. You know, that is one thing. Maybe this one has just been canned a little bit early and prepared a little bit too early. I'm not sure about that. But then again, you know, they have to let them, there is a thing with the New England IPAs, they have to be allowed to mature a little bit, like a lot of breweries will do, kind of thing. But this beer just feels as if it might have sat just a little touch too long, because you can feel that thickness of the oat and the wheat. It's just kind of, it feels like it's just gotten a little bit too much almost in it, this beer. So yeah, it just doesn't feel quite as fresh as some of the other ones that I've had in the series so far. But yeah, it happens sometimes. So yeah, there is a wee bit of that going on, but you know, these kind of things I'm talking about develop a wee bit more in the aftertaste, in fairness. But yeah, back third of your palate, you can feel a bit of wheaty bitiness, you can feel a bit more of the yeasty qualities coming out, and it does feel that that back third of your palate is a bit thicker. So the thickness in the back of the palate is kind of like this. If you go to that border region, it goes down a little bit. This is where you've got the kind of bread crusty notes. Then in that middle third of your tongue, it feels a little bit more kind of dense and things. So yeah, bear that in mind with this beer. I think that goes together. You know, the way that this beer kind of goes about its business in that sense is quite interesting for sure. So yeah, the malty side of this beer, I think that kind of covers everything, to be honest with you. Feels a little bit thicker, a little bit more kind of yeasty and things, and you get more of the oaty kind of powdery notes a little further into the aftertaste with this one. But yeah, definitely a wee bit of a kind of thinner, a wee bit of a kind of brown sugary sort of thing in the centre of your palate there too, which is interesting. But yeah, on the back corners of the palate then, you definitely get a wee bit of the earthiness that you would expect of Mosaic there. And as you move further forward, it does develop a wee bit of a kind of herbal thing, and as you reach the kind of front corners of the palate, there's definitely some sort of kind of bigger floral aromatic side to the beer coming out, which is nice. It does have a wee bit of spiciness to it, but it's not overly spicy. Round the front curve of the tongue, it's got a softer kind of grassy component there, and I would say that overall the beer does lean a little bit more towards the kind of the floral and the earthy kind of side of this beer. I think are fairly well balanced. Those are the two most prominent parts of the what do you call it, of the green side of the beer. Absolutely. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how that works. So yeah, thumbs up to OO Brewing for this, though it does grow on me a little bit. As I say, it still doesn't strike me as the freshest one I've had in the series, but this beer is growing on me a little bit the more that I drink of it. But yeah, fruity side of things then. As I always say, front third of your palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. On that border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a bit more of a kind of thicker bready note there. It feels like a bit more oaty in that sense. There's a bit of bread crusty note there as well, and I think that kind of powdery oaty kind of thing is forming the basis of the fruity side of the beer. But the fruity side of the beer is quite straight shooting, to be honest with you. I mean, Mosaic, it's got a lovely, the orangey notes you get with this are lovely, but they're quite straight shooting in a sense. Yeah, for me, it's very, very soft at the back of the front third of your palate, but on the front half of that front third of your tongue, that's when the Mosaic shows its kind of slightly oily but still quite juicy tangerine notes there. And yeah, for me, Mosaic has always been about that kind of brighter tangerine sort of thing, and it shows that really nicely. So yeah, I mean, it shows you everything you'd expect of the Mosaic. You get a little bit of the earthiness, you get some of the big kind of floral notes, and you also get that kind of juicy but slightly oily tangerine note. It shows off the hop quite nicely. So thumbs up to OO Brewing for this again. It's another solid beer, but like I said, it doesn't quite strike me as the freshest one I've had in this 100 series so far, so just bear that in mind. But yeah, on to the mouthfeel then to round off the review. What can we say about that? Mouthfeel wise, this beer, I would describe it as being, it's mid-bodied. It is pretty much right in the middle of the spectrum. The carbonation is quite smooth. There's a little bit of oiliness in there. There is a little bit of an oiliness in there, which I do like. So yeah, overall it's quite a smooth but slightly oily New England IPA. In terms of hoppy bitterness, I would say this one is a kind of standard 30 IBUs. It's a 30 IBU beer, I think, which is standard for the New England. It does feel a little bit more spicy the further you go into the aftertaste, in fairness, but yeah, 30 IBU beers. Malt base is very smooth. Yeah, as I say, malt base is very smooth. The malt, it kind of thickens up a little bit. There's a slight degree of sweetness to it as well, and then the fruity side of the beer is a little bit more oily, but it maintains a bit of juiciness. So yeah, this one, I think it shows off the main aspects of the Mosaic hop quite nicely. But yeah, as I say, the malty base, I think it feels as if this beer's just sat for a little bit longer than it should have. Honestly, it just doesn't feel quite as fresh as some of the other 100s that I've had before. But yeah, it was still worked out quite nicely. It seems like a solid enough beer. And yeah, cool to see the Mosaic hop featuring this time. It's a lovely hop, and it's very much appreciated across the world, that hop actually. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the 100 Mosaic, 6.5% New England IPA from the 100 series from OO Brewing in Hisingen in Gothenburg. Enjoyed this one, and I hope that you guys enjoyed my take on it as well. You will see the 50-50 Citra Amarillo Citra Amarillo. You'll see me review that one in a few videos time, so keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, 100 Mosaic, solid beer this one, but as I say, just not quite the freshest compared to some of the other 100 series we've had before. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from OO Brewing. We will return to these guys very soon, like I said, but do check out this brewery, check out some of the other Gothenburg beers as well, and I hope you enjoy this one. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Slange, skull, cheers, and catch you guys on the next review.